Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show, and I'm very happy to have the Recruiter Guy, Bill Humbert, here in studio. Welcome.
Joe, thank you.
Of course, author of the Recruiter Guy's Guide to Finding a Job, and I'm pleased to announce that the second edition, or the second
second edition,
is coming out.
Yes, it will be out at the end of September.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
that's a good goal setting, Recruiter Guy.
Thank you. Well, we had the signs before,
right? Very important.
So, yep. So
very important
I'm
to have that.
Announcing it publicly, so that's one of the...
Now you have to do it.
Now it's got to be out there. I'm committed. You've got hundreds of thousands of viewers that are going to be waiting for the second edition.
Exactly, so you've got no choice but to get it done. Well, the other thing you've been doing, it's the political season. You've been out politicking, so to speak, out in Iowa.
Yeah.
That's one of the early stages. You got to get out there early, Bill.
You know, it's funny. I had to elbow my way in with all those mostly Republican guys, but there were some Democrats wandering around too going like this. So
yeah, there's 16 of them. A bunch of Democrats and Recruiter Guy Bill Humbert, who was, he didn't even have to put his hand out. So people were just, please run.
They were coming to me. They were coming to me and asking me to speak.
Political action committees. You really want Recruiter Guy Bill Humbert to run?
Yeah, actually, it was economic development and the chamber. So I spoke with economic development one day, Iowa City Area Development Group, and then the next day, the Iowa City Chamber. So it was really exciting.
That's excellent. Well, especially when you talk about this topic, I think a lot of people, you don't think about what this can do to your company if it's not done well, and that's all about the process of finding the right candidates. So you've come up with something that I really love: making your company roar. This is a great idea because we could certainly do the opposite.
Exactly, and ROAR stands for Recruit, Onboard, and Retain.
Aha. And to keep some of those people too.
That's right. Once you got them, you want to keep them.
Well, several analogies come to this, and one, of course, is the automobile, that industry.
Joe, the automobile industry, the manufacturing, you have a process, and it's usually a series of processes. Mm-hmm. And so
they're very much the Ford idea, right? You get the assembly line going.
That's right. And the recruiting process is also a series of processes. So when you're building an automobile and you leave out one tiny little piece of the process, like lug nuts for the wheels.
Yeah, they're falling off.
That's right, and that's what happens to companies' recruiting process.
The wheels come right off.
The wheels come off because they leave out one tiny little piece of the process.
So it's critical.
It is critical.
So what does ROAR stand for?
So it stands for Recruit, Onboard, and Retain.
Okay.
And
make sure we get that in people's heads. Lock it in.
That's right.
Okay.
And the processes mirror the sales process exactly. And a lot of companies sort of ignore that.
Yeah.
And so it's really important that you make sure that you're following.
We want to see the likenesses here, and we even have a graphic for this, I believe, so we'll put this up. Because there are some, as you say, when you talk about similarities, these are, well, yeah, it makes good sense. It is a sales process.
Right.
So we start off with number one, which is identify need.
And that's in the sales process. In the recruiting process, that's either a new or replacement position.
So that's where it matches up there. Creating a solution.
The solution is the job description.
Right. And then source potential clients.
Well, on the sales side, that's the sales side. On the recruiting side, it's sourcing candidates.
There you go. A needs analysis.
Interview.
Okay. Proposal.
That's an offer.
Yeah, I like that. That's the part we all like. We don't ever get to that to the very end, though.
That's right.
Due diligence.
That's drug testing, that's background investigation, and one piece that people lots of times leave off, reference checking.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones that can definitely make those
wheels
a little
fall
loose. That's for sure. Cost negotiation.
Salary negotiation.
Okay. The close.
The close.
Yeah, so same right there. Delivery of product.
Start date. Candidate, new employee start date.
Yeah, and that can be sometimes a little interesting. Flexibility there, sometimes key to getting the right person.
Right.
Product training.
That's onboarding.
Okay, and then finally retaining the clients.
Retaining the employees.
Keeping the good ones you already have.
Exactly.
That's an important thing to consider. It costs more to get a new one than it does to keep one.
Exactly. And if you do a good job with your onboarding, that's the new employee's first impression of your company. So if it's a great impression, that's great. But if it's a poor impression, that's really bad.
Which of these is the most important?
I believe it's the job description.
Okay.
And the reason is the job description is the foundation of everything that follows. It's the foundation of sourcing. So if you have the right job description, then you're sourcing the right people. But if you have the wrong job description, you're sourcing the wrong people.
Sure, and I think the other thing is managing expectations with that, right?
It is.
When you get somebody who comes in there and you gave them a job description that says one thing, and now they find out they're doing something entirely different, and it may not even be something that's in their wheelhouse. Then what? They're going to be unhappy. You're going to be unhappy with the product.
That's right.
Big mistake.
It's a huge mistake, and some companies make it.
So probably the most important, one of the very most important things is making sure that that is written to what is actually going to be expected.
That's right, Joe. And the other thing is, the job description is the basis of the manager one-on-one conversations.
Finding out, assessing how you're doing.
Right. And then the annual review is a piece of cake if you have those conversations based on the expectations to begin with.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. That's the most critical thing. There's no doubt. The money and all that aside, you want to know as the employer what the job is, and certainly as the employee, you better know what they're expecting of you walking in the door.
That's correct.
All right. Well, this is great stuff. Making your company roar, and of course, you're making us roar with excitement here for the next edition of the book. That's what's next for you. Is that right?
That's next. I'm also building my public speaking business. So I spoke in Iowa twice, and I presented on a webinar for Smart Search this past Thursday. We had even people as far away as Sweden.
Wow.
So it was fun.
All right, it's your write-in candidate, Bill Humbert, for president.
Joe, thank you.
Thanks so much for being here, as always. The Recruiter Guy. You can find his book on Amazon as well, and Kindle for the new one too.
Kindle it'll come out on Kindle too.
That's a great place to start.
Yes.
All right, we'll be back with more right here on the Mountain Morning Show. If he wasn't royal enough for you, we've got some real royalty here. They've got crowns and everything right after this.